talked about how your predicted grade was a 36, and then at the end, you somehow bumped your predicted grade to a 44, which is literally one
Yeah.
mark away from full mark.
You have to notice it early. Like, you have to notice that problem early on. Like, notice what you're doing wrong and how you can improve it. You have to ask your teachers, ask your friends, surround yourself with more intelligent people, and like don't slack off. That's the important things. It really depends on the person. Chemistry, like some people find chemistry harder than biology, some people find it the other way around. I find biology harder than chemistry.
Some people like they spend, I guess, like 5 hours every single day trying to read some stuff, but they still somehow don't get it in. So I guess like having some efficient strategies to study is actually pretty useful. So
the most important one is being able to surround myself with people who love to study as well, because that gives me the motivation to study. Like, if I see all of my friends around me, picking up their iPads and doing work, I naturally want to do the same. Like, that really helps.
hey guys, welcome back to another podcast of Z-Lane. Today we have Anson here, who is a 44 IB predicted grade student who is currently actually going to be graduating CDNIS just this year. So I'm just going to stop talking and let Anson introduce himself. So Anson, take it away.
Hey, my name is Anson, and I am just about to graduate high school, grade 12, and the subjects that I took were HL English Lang and Lit, HL Chemistry, HL Biology, and my SL subjects were Math AA, Chinese BSL, and ESS. I would consider myself more of a combination of a hardworking and a playful person, because when in my journey leading up to now, I wasn't actually the best student to begin with, but it was through a lot of hard work which allowed me to reach the point to where I am today.
Yeah, so before we jump into all of the academics and all of the other juicy stuff that I'm pretty sure the audience will want to hear, could you like briefly describe like your personal story, like how your journey, like your overall passions and like your academic journey?
Okay, so back in grade 11, I was more of a very playful person. I always went out with my friends. I underestimated the DP program, which is something you do not want to do. It is very much a difficult challenge. Back in I think September of 2022, I had started off with a predicted grade of, I think it was 37 or 38. And that was probably one of the lower times of my life. Yeah, I didn't imagine myself to be where I am today, because I actually took a lot of time to thoroughly reflect through and actually see what the DP was asking for. Like, the DP it's very demanding, and I didn't realize that at first until I got my second predicted grade, which was about more or less the same. After through a lot of determination, I had to work very hard to get through this DP program.
I mean, this is very interesting because you talked about how your predicted grade was a 36, and then at the end, you somehow bumped your predicted grade to a 44, which is literally one
Yeah.
mark away from full marks.
Yeah.
So I guess this shows that nothing's impossible as long as you put in the hard work, and you can still improve your IB predicted scores.
And you have to notice it early. Like, you have to notice that problem early on. Like, notice what you're doing wrong and how you can improve it. You have to ask your teachers, ask your friends, surround yourself with more intelligent people, and like don't slack off. That's the important things.
Yeah. So now let's like talk about some academic success, and probably many of you guys are looking for this. And I guess like this sounds very fascinating to people, but you are basically taking bio and chem HL, which is a pretty juicy and pretty hard combo, which many people consider it. So my first question is like, what would you consider your overall experience with bio and chem? Like, was it as challenging, and how much effort did you really put into it?
I think it really depends on the person. Chemistry, like some people find chemistry harder than biology, some people find it the other way around. I find biology harder than chemistry, and that's because but before the DP, I was told that biology was pure memorization. That is to some extent true, but if in the unit test, right? They always ask you to state this, explain that, outline this. That doesn't really reflect on what IB biology is all about. It's about taking your knowledge and applying it to different case studies and actually understand those case studies and analyze patterns based on your knowledge. And I think that is harder than chemistry. I think overall, though, it's more or less not as hard as people seem because there's a lot of overlap between bio and chem. It's like it's like two subjects that you can use like you know like if you have knowledge in biology, you can use that and apply it to chemistry. And but some things in chemistry are like solely in chemistry. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of content, but like the content you can share it between the two subjects, and I think in that sense it's a lot easier. But in the like really specific content wise, you have to be careful when learning because in biology and chemistry, it's always really, you know, you can always be prone to making mistakes like I have. Like, for example, forgetting the units, labeling graphs, and what else are there? Punching into a calculator wrong, or like saying the wrong chemical or organism's name. Yeah, there's a lot of room for error in these two subjects. And I think for me, my overall experience with bio and chem is just pure practice and doing all of these past papers over the past 2 months.
Holy. So, do you think that okay? So I was actually also gonna ask you like how much effort do you put, but we can see that.
Yeah, this is my final prep. Minus, yeah, this is all of my final prep, minus the work on my iPad. It is a dictionary, and I'm gonna throw this away as soon as this interview is done.
So how much time and effort do you think like if you just okay, let's just say for example, I'm like a person who's I guess like I had to choose biology because I'm somewhat interested in it, but like I'm just okay, like I'm an average person. How much time do you think it will take to get like a minimum 7?
Oh, minimum 7. Oh, it takes a lot of work. For me, when I studied for that unit test, like the latest unit test, that's the one I remember the most. It was about human physiology, and I think I spent about 2 hours a day for 2 weeks leading up to that test. And for the final exam, I spent a good month, like maybe 100 hours worth. So biology, like it depends on how good your memory is. Like for me, my memory's not too great, and I had to, do a lot of past papers to really like drill those information into my head. Drill like you have to make sure that like you actively recall. Like it's not about putting the hours, it's about like seeing your notes and actually reading about biology. That's how you remember it.
Yeah, completely agree. Like, some people like they spend, I guess, like 5 hours every single day trying to read some stuff, but they still somehow don't get it in. So I guess like having some efficient strategies to study is actually pretty useful. So other than drilling the past paper, as we can see, whole dictionary stack of it, what other strategies do you personally use, and have you tried before? And some of them failed, some of them succeeded. So it would be great if you could share some.
Okay, so the ones that I failed were there's one method that actually I didn't really enjoy. It was ExamMate. There's this website with a lot of topical past paper questions, but like they don't really like reflect on how easy or difficult those questions are. Like they're just random questions they just take out of tests, and they don't really help like much. They just help you like answer this, answer that. Like it's so random. It's not really structured in the way that the actual exam is like. And then another one that failed. I'm sure many of you would consider this a little bit of a wild card, but I think Revision Village isn't that great, honestly. Like you've definitely heard of Revision Village before, right? It's like this site where there's so many like past paper questions and practice exams, mock exams. I don't think it really reflects on the actual level of the exams. I found the Revision Village practice test a lot more difficult than the actual like unit tests and tests they give at school. So I think that you're just by doing Revision Village, you're basically making yourself worry more about not understanding all of the information that's given. Yeah, so now let's get into the ones that I found successful. So one, that was to take my own notes from the teacher's slides, like taking my own notes and then putting them on my iPad and then reviewing them. That actually helped a lot because that actually accurately reflects on what you need to know. The teachers, they make it very mark scheme based, and then like you can just take notes and then memorize it off of there. Uh, Another one, and this is specific for biology, and this is BioNinja. I love BioNinja. It really helps a lot. It's this website where it's basically very, concisely summarized information about the course content, and it's like very well structured, like all the points you need to know without all of those gray area inside of the textbooks. So you don't have to read like paragraphs and paragraphs. You can just read the bullet points, and that's just really nice. And one more that I found useful was Quester. It's called Quester.io, and it's like a compilation. It's like a website where there's a compilation of all of the students' notes and like what others are there. Just a lot of notes and worksheets that you can take off the internet, and it's copyright free. And I used it a lot when I was prepping for final exams, and it really helped me a lot by reading other people's notes, seeing what I missed, and then adding it to my notes. And lastly, past papers. Past papers, yeah. You have to drill the past papers. Like every subject, just look at the past papers, see what the IB asks you. This is definitely by far the most important and my most effective way of studying.
Hmm. Yeah, thanks for sharing those strategies. I think it's for sure very like useful if we select the right softwares to use and obviously the right strategies because and of course like some strategies that works for you will not work for everyone, but it's still good
Yeah.
to try different strategies and see which one works the best. So this topic actually is very I guess very debatable in this whole entire space and many people think that tutoring is actually a very useful tool, especially with parents. If any parents are listening to this,
Mhm.
um, so what are your overall thoughts on tutoring? And have you done tutoring before?
I have tutored little children. I mean, that's the only tutoring I've ever done. But I think tutoring is a good way. Like, if I were to tutor, like, let's say a grade 10 chemistry student, I think it'd be a really good way to help me recall any of those really basic information that I may have forgotten. Like, for example, in chemistry, polyatomic ions. Like, I always forget those. Like, those are really standard, really basic information that you need to know that you could review by yourself as well when you're tutoring like students who are like a few years younger than you. So I think that's also pretty good. But also like tutoring also helps you practice your patient skills and your communication when you're trying to explain topics and information to your other friends, which is really helpful.
Yeah. So in terms of like tuition centers, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's
Tuition
good or?
centers. It depends. It depends. I actually went to the tuition center for math. It was called Promatics. It's in Central. I'm sure many of the CDNIS students go there for math tutoring. Yeah, I find it pretty effective because I'm placed in the class with a bunch of my other friends who are taking the same math course as me. But if that wasn't the case, then I'm not sure if it's the best because you have to really like see what works for you. And if you like working with other people, then yeah, sure, tuition centers are great. But you know, if you like doing, private tutoring or like if you like self-studying or like doing it by yourself, I think doing private tutoring or studying individually would be better. So it really depends on what you think.
Mhm. Yeah, I personally also believe like if you have, I guess like tutoring like it allows people who are I guess we could comment as like less disciplined to actually have like an allocated time to actually do the thing and it's pretty necessary. But if you actually do have like the discipline to, I guess, study and set some time every single day without being distracted to actually just drill some past papers or study the stuff that you did in class, I guess that would be another effective way. And I, yeah, and again, it depends really on your personal self. So like one more question with biology. So some people from my grade are like thinking that it is like has a really tough marking scheme. So considering you only got like a 6, which stopped you from getting a full 45 marks, which is very, very unfortunate. What do you think about this? Like, do you think it's true?
Honestly, for me, if I was looking back at my grade 11 self, I would tell myself to, I would give myself a slap in the face because biology isn't the point I'd prefer to lose that point in. Because honestly, getting a 7 in biology is easier than getting a 7 in most other subjects. Because even though, yes, it does have a tough marking scheme, you just need those key words to score the point. Like, for example, like if you didn't mention in this sentence active transport, then you lose the point. So I think the tough marking scheme, like the people get this revelation, is because you need those key words in your sentences, which aren't really that difficult unless you don't look at the mark schemes. So yeah, I think getting a 7 in bio isn't that bad if you put in the effort. And I think that honestly applies for every subject, but I'd rather lose my point in English than biology. But yes, that's the way the world turns. But biology isn't that bad, isn't that hard.
Hmm. Yeah. So I was also like thinking like I think every single subject has their own strategy. And if you do like master that strategy, then you're basically unbeatable because you just have to grind that strategy rather than having like using another subject strategy or feeling kind of lost and studying for the wrong thing. So I guess that's going to be one of the things that we're also going to be including in like the value doc for, I guess, for all the subjects. We're going to be briefly breaking down, some strategies and tips to, what to kind of study, like how to study, and yeah, other things which will be pretty helpful. So ESS, which if you guys didn't know
Oh,
is Environmental Science and Society. I don't know if it's environment. Oh yeah, it's Environmental Science and Society. Yeah.
yeah,
So
environmental
is that
science,
Mhm.
all that.
Environmental science? So is that actually so-called like a free subject where like it's so easy to get like a 6 or 7 as people are saying, and what's up with that?
Mm, if I were to be very transparent and honest, for me, yes, it was pretty. Yeah, for me, it was pretty free. Like, how do I explain this? Like ESS, half of it is actually being able to understand the knowledge, but the other half is your ability to yap. And then ESS, half of it is understanding your knowledge, like really practical information, and the rest of it is just being able to yap. Like, if you know what yapping means, just BSing your way through an essay. But I think, like, I guess it's free 6, but not free 7 because your essays are actually worth half of your paper too. Um, but the course, like the course content wise, it's not that bad. I think, like because I take chemistry and bio, it's a really lot of overlap between the three subjects. And if you're also taking like global politics and history, there's also a bit of overlap, but I don't think it's as favorable as bio and chem. So it really depends on your subject choices. And but for me, I feel like it was pretty easy. Like it was pretty chill compared to my other subjects.
Hmm. So in terms of like overlapping subjects, I guess do you think that actually played a role with like helping
Yes,
you out?
yes,
Does it play a huge role in like
huge
less
role.
study?
But if you're taking like art courses and you put ESS in there, then I guess it's a bit more demanding, but it's still manageable because the content is not that bad. Like it doesn't go into like very hardcore science or hardcore like geo or history. It's like somewhere in the middle. Like it's like a really combination of between all of them. Like you don't go into like really detailed knowledge. It's just very, you know, like chill and it's like stuff you've learned before in ecology, but like a bit more application.
Hmm. Yeah. So you also took math ASL, right? So you probably know that it's a pretty interesting subject because
Mhm.
there's pretty much a big difference with like the level of content with the SL content and the HL content. in the
Oh
IB
yeah.
curriculum.
Yep.
And like most people, I guess we would, let's be honest, like most people, they're either like good in math, they're the type of math person, or they're either really bad in math. So really not much in between, right? So my question, and I guess many people's question, is what are your strategies for someone who's like not that great in math or like struggling to get the highest grades?
Hmm. I think paper one, for let's start with paper one. So paper one, I think paper one is just all practice. Like just practice your past papers and actually like understanding what they're asking you to solve. Like for example, I have this one paper here. Let's see. Like this paper one or two. This is one. So I'm not sure if you're able to see it, but here
Yep.
it asks you to find the coordinates of the midpoint and find like some kind of perpendicular slope or whatever. I think these type of questions are more favorable to someone who's not good at math because by actually just trying to visualize what the question's asking you, just drawing it out, it really helps. Like just drawing the question out, like if you got some really like weird calculus or trig question or like functions, just draw it out. Like it doesn't hurt. Because they're always gonna ask you like two-dimensional things. Or if it's three-dimensional, they'll give you a diagram. So I think just being able to visualize the question and, you know, seeing reviewing what methods you can use to get to that like solution, you can use that. Like and you'll get method marks too. Like if you don't get the answer, that's okay because you still get the method marks. And like the answer marks are only just worth like here it's worth 1 point out of five. And you can still get four marks out of five if you understand the question, solving it the right way, but not getting the answer. And for paper two, I think the most important skill is to understand your calculator and what it can do. Because your calculator is your saving grace in paper two, and you can solve pretty much every single question with a calculator, except for the proof questions. Those proof questions, I think you can take the hit. It won't stop you from getting a seven. Because paper two, like, I think the main tip here is to solve the question in the least amount of steps possible by understanding your calculator and like using nsolve, graphing features, finding the using your you know what was that thing again? Like, you got a lot of integration functions, which I think is the hardest topic. Like in paper two, like the hard topics become easy because you can solve it with a calculator, which is so nice. So just understand your calculator, which is the most important skill in paper two. So that's why also I think paper two is a lot easier because you just need to know what your calculator can do, and that can help you solve everything.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like I, like with one of my papers, like we also split in paper one, and paper two for math for one of the
Mhm.
tests, and I got all of my non-cal right, but I didn't know how to use my calculator, so that test didn't really end too well because
Mm.
I didn't manage to solve that. So yeah, learning how to use the technology is for sure a really important one. So I guess like the overall strategy with math and like as you've mentioned in bio is drilling a whole lot of past papers. So I mean, turning to like study habits, like what would you say is like the recommended like what do you think worked best for yourself and like for people who are like I guess yeah more playful if you know what I mean.
Like help me motivate myself to study.
Yeah.
Ah, one the most important one is being able to surround myself with people who love to study as well, because that gives me the motivation to study. Like when I see all of my friends around me, like picking up their iPads and doing work, I naturally want to do the same. Like that really helps. Like, like I have some friend, like some of my friends, we always go to the library, the central library, to go studying, like for the mock exams and the finals, and that really helped me.
Yeah, so surrounding with yourself with like similar minded people. So do you guys like have like a specific like schedule or like do you guys meet like once a week or
I
what?
mean, no, we just do whatever we want. Like if you feel comfortable with the amount you know, then you just don't want to study. Like that's just natural. Like, but if you like panicking and you don't know like content, or like there's a test coming up and you're not prepared, you just want to study, right? So I think just don't like you know lock yourself into a really tight schedule. And I think that's like less stressful and you can manage your time better and like get the most of it, you know? Like you just if you have like really strict schedule, like you're just doing studying for the sake of it. You're not doing it so you can understand things. Just so I think yeah, just make your time more free.
Hmm. So in terms of like things like procrastination, like do you like have you had like personal experience with it, and like what would you say is like a good way to combat that?
Oh, everyone's procrastinated at least once. Like
Yeah.
honestly, like everyone watching this, I bet you procrastinate maybe an hour a day when you're studying. Like for me, it's just this is really generic, honestly. Like the generic methods like work for me. Like just putting my phone aside, like in another room, and then like my tabs, closing them, and before I actually did all of my past papers on my iPad until I realized there were apps on my iPad that I could procrastinate to as well. So I switched to paper, just doing past papers on paper. That's like pretty. It's like you know, one of the better ways. Just taking all the technology away.
Hmm. Yeah, so then you could lock in into basically what you're doing.
Yeah, this helped me lock in paper.
Yeah, even though many people would say it destroys the environment, but
Yeah,
certainly a
we can
bit.
recycle.
Hmm. So in terms of yourself, do you think you consider yourself as like a perfectionist?
Before no, now yes. Because the difference between a 6 and a 7 is being able to notice those tiny little details in pretty much all of my subjects. Like just being able to notice things that other people don't and actually like making your work neat, nice, formatted nicely, like very organized, and most importantly, including all of those, really, meticulous details that you want to see.
Yeah, and I guess in like some sort of sense, that's actually like a pretty good thing. But I guess sometimes it wouldn't be that great of a thing, especially when I guess it's something not less important. I guess.
Yeah.
So like in terms of video games, pretty big topic. I think many people have many different opinions on it. So guy I talked to last week, Jasper, like he is pretty like he
Okay.
studies a lot as well. The Jasper,
Oh,
yeah,
Jasper.
Jasper, yeah, Jasper. Yeah, I'm from grade 10, so he actually does a whole lot of studying. His whole day is studying, and his only time of kind of like like chilling out is playing video games at like lunch. So then he can also socialize with people. So like I'm very interested to know like your thoughts on like video games. I guess you could talk a bit about like how much you play and like yeah how it overall impacts.
I play video games. I do play video games. Like even the day before, I think the night before the bio exam, I was gaming with my friends at like 11 p.m. But I think for video games, I think it's about like managing your time, allotting yourself to how much time you can spend gaming, and like also like me and my friends just do this thing where we play these games, and whoever has the lowest stat line or dies the most has to do like a certain amount of push-ups or squats. So you can use your time effectively as well by playing your video games while doing exercise. So I think video games is a good way to relax, but like it really depends on how well you can control yourself.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's actually pretty interesting. Like
Yeah.
using video game as like an I guess like an external motivation to do something else,
Mhm.
which is one of your core tasks. So I guess like with the entire DP program, like do you have any personal regrets, like big regrets?
Yes. Yes. Okay. So number one is doing my UCAT in September. You know what? The UCAT is called a University Clinical Aptitude Test. You have to do it in order to apply for medicine in the UK. I did mine in September in the middle of the DP. It was horrible. Like that time was horrible. Like there's so much studying to do. So to all of those grade 11s who are planning to do medicine in uni in the UK, do UCAT during the summer. Don't wait till the DP. Like do it early, and then Another one is that's not putting enough effort within the first few months of the DP, and that like really put me in a position where it's really hard to get my PG up. Like it was, it wasn't great. Like I had to work so hard, like to balance that out. Harder than I should have worked. Like if I had worked harder in the beginning, then I would have much better time now than before. My third regret, I was actually thought of this like just now and I forgot. What was it again? Oh, not putting in enough effort into my uni essays. So and like not taking the uni applications process as seriously as I wanted to. Like for example, let's say UBC, right? I applied to two courses without my supplemental application. So I forgot my supplementals for two of the four courses that I applied to. I got rejected from both because I didn't submit it. But luckily, I still got into the one I wanted to. That I wanted to get in. So just focus on your uni application, like instructions and what they ask you to do. Yeah. So those are my three big regrets.
So yeah, so like, in terms of like setting a good first impression to like the teachers or like your DP teachers, like, do you think that's like like that's like an important factor?
I mean, yeah. I guess like just putting yourself out there is like really like willing to learn, like person who's willing to learn and willing to improve, and actually demonstrating that as well through your unit test. Like I don't think it's that important because like it's a really fair grading process. There's no like any sort of nepotism when it comes to grading. Like it just helps you like make yourself seem more friendly to the teacher. But at the end, they still grade as equally. But it does get your ATLs up though, which is nice. But grade wise, I don't think it's really that effective.
Mm.
Because if your
Yeah,
teacher
so
grades in like a really biased way, then that's like not really great, isn't it?
yeah, so in terms of like, I guess like defining like what ATL means. So ATL is like the what learning approach is, right?
Mhm.
I forgot the specific name, but it was like learning
I
approaches,
forgot them as
which
well.
I think, yeah, if you send like your transcripts to like US universities, they do look
Yeah,
at that, but I
US.
guess for like UK and like other places, they less look at that. They look more like
Yeah,
your
look at your
accuracy.
grades.
Mhm. Yeah. So now let's kind of transition to like talking about stuff outside of school. So we talked, I guess, pretty long about DP program, but of course, it's actually very interesting to learn about an individual, your stories and your passion and stuff. So let's start off with talking about your table tennis. So before the call, you told me that basically top 50 in the Hong Kong table tennis U10 age group, which is actually just insane. So did you ever like dream about being like a professional with table tennis or like taking that to like a step further?
I mean, back when I was like 10 years old, I didn't really have any mindset of what I wanted to be when I grew up. When I was 10, I actually wanted to be a chef after watching Ratatouille. But table tennis just found like as a hobby. Like it was so fun, like being able to, hit a white ball around and, training your eye movement. It really helps you focus. Like it helps you, notice, like observe better. But actually, like I didn't really think of going professional. Like I just wanted to play for fun and train because it helped me like de-stress and it's just really fun. Like I just didn't you know think of it as a long-term career back then. I just thought of it as like a really a good way to help myself. Yeah.
Hey guys, just a quick second before we get back into the pod. If you guys didn't know, there is a value doc link in the description, which is prepared by myself and the guest, which will contain all of the resources and tips mentioned in the podcast. It is 100% free. We have spent hours on this, so we would appreciate if you could just check it out. All right, guys, back to the pod. Yeah, so like treating it as like a hobby, something fun to play with
Hobby, yeah.
friends, relax. Yeah. So you also said like you wanted to go pro in figure skating, but you got injured. So I'm assuming that something like probably big happened because if you got injured and you can't play a sport, like it's probably something pretty serious. So if you don't mind sharing to like the audience and myself, would you like briefly describe what happened and like how it impacted your life, not only in pro figure skating, but also like in general?
Oh, this is a pretty good story. I actually got injured when I wasn't, training. Like it was like when I was just skating with my friends. So that day it was in City Plaza, right? I was skating along like one of the paths that was like unevenly, smoothened out, and I ended up hitting the back heel and falling on my head and having a concussion in the back of my head. And then I was out cold for like, I don't know, 10, 20 minutes until I woke up. And that really hurt. Like, actually, no, it didn't really hurt until like after I woke up. But like, from that experience, I found that it was pretty dangerous. Like, like, like things like could have gone worse, Like, I could have split my head open, or like someone's else skate could have like hit me as well. So I think that really just traumatized me, and I that was the moment when I actually started to consider my safety and being able to, you know, like choose my choices effectively and like don't, So that's why I quit.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting because like I think many people also they probably wouldn't notice something in the beginning, and then when something big happens they will act on their
Mm,
fear and just
yeah.
completely remove themselves from that thing. But I guess like on one hand, of course, like you kind of want to play the safe zone, but I don't know, like to a certain extent I still think you should take some risks. Not saying you should go back to like figure skating, but maybe like it's probably not like fit something physical, right? But I
Yeah.
guess like trying different things is, yeah, something still very important, but you shouldn't let fear to kind of like stop you
Mhm.
from doing something.
But sometimes it does have to, like especially because you're in a DP, getting injured is a real big, it's not that convenient.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess it really depends on like the season of your life that you're in. Like you have to
Mm,
prioritize different things.
mm.
So yeah, so also you mentioned you were the executive of Orbis, and also you did like a few like film projects here and there. So what was your overall approach with like work life balance?
Oh, okay. So here, I guess just don't overload yourself with the amount of like, you know, things that you're doing outside of school. Like, I think quality is over quantity, Like, like for example, if I was a general member in like five different clubs, then I'd have to do things for five different clubs, but not having anything in return. But if you're an exec position for one of them, you can use that and put them in your university application, and it looks really nice. Like, if you were on your application said like, "Oh, I was a general member of these clubs. What did I do?" Exactly, right? Like, you don't know what you did, like what kind of impact you've made. But like, if you said you're an executive member of, let's say, animal welfare, or in my case, Orbis, then you can say that I was involved, like I was like directly involved in raising awareness for the visually impaired. Like you just have that. You made an impact through your extracurriculars. Yeah. So my approach with work life balance, in a sense, is just you know choosing the right activities and dedicating your time into those few activities, which might be really, really effective and really nice.
Hmm. Yeah, and again, it's like all about the tiny details, right? So like being
Yeah,
that
like,
you're like, I mean that pretty much
and
answers
you
my
don't have to manage as many different clubs. You can just focus on one project and, develop that project and make it really nice. And I think that's more effective for work life balance as well, because you don't have to spend as much time to do anything like things that are worthless and time consuming.
question. Mhm. Yeah, so again, it's like the saying of less is more, and like
Yeah, less is more.
always be selective with the different things that you want to be pursuing and going really
Mhm.
deep into them. So yeah, so like shifting back to like the DP and like school life. Hopefully, when I said that, you probably don't feel too upset or like having so much nostalgia. But like, do you see like an overall
It's all
shift
right.
with your schedule, from like the MYP program to the DP program?
I think this question is really directed to the grade 10s out there. I think that the shift in my schedule is it's pretty extreme. Like in grade 10 you don't see yourself studying as much. Like in like all of that changes in grade 11. Like I'll be very transparent and honest. Your schedule gets, like in the first few months, oh, you get your EE to do, you get your CAS as well, and your TOK on top of that. And you have your course content in 6 different subjects to memorize. So in grade 10, even though there's more subjects, like it's not that hard, like it's not as hardcore as grade 11, where the grades actually matter so much more. Like my schedule went from like let's say an hour of studying a day in all of the 8 subjects to at least 2 hours per week per subject. Like if that makes sense, like at least double or triple the time I spent in grade 10.
Hmm. Yeah. So in terms of like outside of subject, what do you think took the most time for you?
Outside of my subjects, I think Orbis, like my GGC like involvement, because the GGC is pretty interesting. Like there's it's not as similar to like other like those regular clubs that aren't in the GGC. Like you have to go to these like events and dress up and like it consumes your time a lot. Like you need to do a lot of things for the GGC on top of your Orbis work. So I think like especially me, of course, being an executive, yeah, I think Orbis is one of the things that took the most time. Like being able to like manage so many things and like my cast project as well. Oh my, that was difficult. You can talk more about that later if you want.
Yeah, for sure. We could jump back to Cass. And I guess like for people who are probably still listening, you guys want to like pursue something in like the medical professional field. So do you think having this experience with Orbis and like choosing a hand like some clubs to be participating, do you think that would be helpful in like the application process for medical specifically?
Depends what club you. Well, you know, I think subject wise, it depends on what club you choose. Like Orbis is really heavily related to eye care, and eye care is like a field in medicine that I actually want to pursue one day. Like, I actually want to pursue optometry one day or ophthalmology, and but like in a more general sense, I think the leadership aspect it really helps a lot, and being able to work with other people. That's those are two really crucial skills in the medical field, being able to work with each other and working and like leading a team when things are you know not that nice.
Hmm. Yeah, so I guess it's really it's still down
The
to
soft those soft skills, yeah.
yeah, rather than like the knowledge
Mm.
itself. And I guess it's down to also like if you're interested in the thing or not. So like I guess like doing something for the application, just for the application, wouldn't be that effective. But if you're truly interested in it, then
Mm.
you should probably go for it and at least give it an attempt to give it a shot. Yeah. So like moving on to internships. So you actually interned in
Mm.
5 different places, which is actually insane considering you're
Yeah.
actually just graduating
Yeah.
high school. I guess like not many people have that many interns. So for someone who's like looking into a medical field, is there any specific advice you would have for them with intern?
Expose yourself in the environment. Like choose an internship that will allow you to actually watch medical professionals like do their work and see how like the day goes and see if that works for you. Like for example, right? Like I interned in a physiotherapy clinic and I actually watched a lot of medical professionals. Like what were they do again? Yeah, they helped this. Like this one experience I actually remember to this day is this 102-year-old woman walked into the physiotherapy clinic and she wanted to just walk around with the bars, like like inside the dance room. There's like these like metal bars on the side of the wall and there's mirrors, right? Like I think just seeing how medical professionals treat patients, work together, and always putting the patient cares first is like the patient care is like number one. Like that's like what really allowed me to believe that I was fit for medicine because I'm more like empathetic when it comes to you know, treating people like, seeing people in danger or they need help as opposed to other people.
Yeah, I really like the point that you mentioned out, like treating an intern not as an intern, but rather um, just seeing if you actually like to pursue that
Yeah.
path. Because like if you're inside the classroom, like the most that you can get is to cut a pig's heart, do some kind of medical lab. You don't really
Yeah, you don't
expose
see
yourself.
the professionals working. Just immerse yourself into the environment. That's number one key tip.
Mhm. So with like most of these like intern opportunities, like where do you like mainly find them? Was it from like networks, or did you have a specific website to go to?
I found them through school or my friends. Yep.
School and
Just,
friends.
but I think the most is from school. Yeah, like Mr. Aldridge, shout out. He helped me. Like he kept on posting like U.S. daily announcements, and I found my internships through there.
Mhm. So like if and for people like who are not like in CDNIS or like not in this school, like where would you say is a very solid place to start with?
Um, hmm. I think one of the places you can start with is maybe asking your parents if they have any friends who are looking for internships. That's like the place I would go first. Then maybe secondly, just go on the internet and browse.
Hmm. Yeah, so there's nothing really that specific. So just
Or
the
if you
classic.
don't, or if you can't find one, the school always has, like our school, CDNS has like this program, this summer program that you can apply to.
Hmm. Yeah, so like, yeah, also like asking the school, I guess, and I guess
Asking
having
schools if they, yeah.
yeah, like being proactive and
Hmm.
actually yeah asking. So what age would you actually recommend to start interning? And for yourself, like when was your first intern?
Grade 10 summer.
Grade 10 summer. So would you
Summer of
recommend
grade 10,
anyone
yeah. Hmm?
anyone to intern like earlier than that?
I mean, it depends on how motivated you are. Like for me, I wasn't really ready until grade 10. Like I didn't really have that, knowledge and social background that I used to have. Like, just do it whenever you're ready, like whenever you think it's necessary.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like I
I guess
know
that's like
friends who did law firms at grade 9, and but they didn't really find that as helpful as doing internships later on because doing them later on is like you're older, right? The employer finds you have more purpose and use, and they'll make you do more like do when you're ready. Like there's no pressure. The pressure starts in grade 12.
pressure just
Just
in grade
choose
12.
grade 10 or grade 11, like or before that as well if you're willing to.
Mhm. Yeah, so now let's like kind of like loop back to CAS. Like, what do you do for CAS?
Also creativity, I do filmmaking and then like photo photography, which is pretty generic because I'm a STEM student who has no creativity whatsoever. Activity, I do table tennis and badminton. I joined the badminton team like for a
Hmm.
while back in grade 11, and in service I did quite a bit. Like one of them was teaching English to grade 1 students. I did Orbis work, and I did what was it again? Yeah, I was responsible for what was it? Evaluating essays from DSE students, English essays from DSE students.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
So,
so
like,
those are the three big ones.
do you think those experiences really helped? And were you like grateful that I guess like CAS existed, or do you think you're better off without them?
Better off without it. I hate CAS.
I mean, I guess you're fine to say this because you graduated from the IB program.
Yeah,
So,
screw CAS. Like I just did CAS for the sake of it. Like even though I said so much, like what did I learn from CAS? Like I learned so much from CAS. Yeah, I just did CAS for the sake of it. Like just you just have to do it. Like I know it's tough and you don't like it. Just gotta do it, man. Like it's it's there for a purpose, but students generally don't see the purpose, and I don't really see it either.
yeah. So I guess like in terms of people who are thinking in a similar way, which I guess is 99% of the student population. So let's be honest here. What would you say is the biggest shortcut, or if there's like any tips you would give them with CAS?
Ooh, biggest shortcuts or tips. One of the big no-nos is to use AI. Don't do that. Mr. Lee can catch you, and if you get caught, you are not going to be in a favorable position. I think one of the shortcuts is just there really isn't a shortcut, honestly. Like, you just gotta do it. You can't really fake the evidence. Like, I mean, I guess one of the shortcuts you could take if you're a non-athletic person is to, let's say, make your siblings go to the gym and do the workout for you. And if Greg want, if Miss, sorry, not Greg, if Mr. Lee wants some physical evidence, then just go to the gym, do a few reps, and leave. I think that's one of the shortcuts you could do, but I don't really see another way.
Yeah, or I guess like trying to somehow, I guess, like relate it back to the stuff that
Yeah.
you're already doing. I guess that's one of the main ones that I can probably think of.
Also, for cast reflections, you don't actually have to write that much. Like 3 to 4 sentences, it should be enough. Like a paragraph, like the length of, let's say, that, like this length of a paragraph from here to here. Like if you see it, this line to that line should be enough. Like it's not that much. Like Mr. Lee doesn't want like a whole page of work. Like you can just write a little sentence, like a few sentences, then you're fine.
Hmm. Yeah, very interesting. So in terms of like TOK, like how was your experience with that?
Oh my, that oh. I did not like TOK. Like I'll be honest, I didn't like TOK. It was so boring. But you just gotta do it. Like I think I got a B in TOK. I think how do I explain this? Like TOK isn't a sub is I think is my hardest subject actually. It's a subject that requires you to like think so abstractly. It's so it's so broad and there's no definite answer. Like it's so philosophical. So I think
Hmm.
just being able to think of ideas that a common person wouldn't think about, that would make you successful in TOK.
Hmm. So could you like if you were able to like summarize like what you did in TOK? So because I guess there's like a big like I guess there's like a really big misconception of like what is actually taught in TOK, and like I personally know that TOK is like a course, right? A course that you take the whole entire year. So what would you say is like the main curriculum with TOK?
So in the first year, you do like some exhibitions, right? I don't know how to describe it. It's like an exhibition where you have like, you choose 3 different objects, any object you want. Like it can be anything, like a stuffed doll, or let's say this computer mouse, or uh what else do I have in my room? Anything you can choose, and then you have to write an analysis of what that thing tells you about knowledge. Like, what does this tell you about knowledge? Like it's about being able to take something and analyze it and relate it to this concept of knowledge. Like knowledge can be anything. Like it can be like experiences. It can be factual knowledge. It can be like um interpretations from famous people, or like theories from science. It can be anything, but you just have to, in that first year, you take 3 different objects and then like try and draw a connection between the 3 while explaining what it contributes to knowledge. And then in the second year, you write an essay based on one of the 6 questions that are provided to you, and you do the same thing. What was it again? Yeah, you take a few pieces of evidence and knowledge, and then you answer the question based on knowledge. So, for example, my question was, what was it? Do we need a custodian of knowledge? That was my question. How, and you got 1,600 words to answer for that. And it's such a basic question, but you got to define the terms, like what defines a custodian? Like what defines a need? Like in what cases is like a need? And what's knowledge? So it's so abstract, and I didn't really like it, but some people might find it interesting. Like, of course, but it's just so detailed and it's not this. It was so weird. But you learn throughout like the 2 years of DP. Like it gets better. Like you'll find yourself understanding more and more of it.
Very, very interesting. Um, hmm. I guess like more like the philosophical stuff, and
Yeah,
I
it's
guess
so
very
philosophical.
pretty different from other subjects.
Mhm.
So, like, what would you say is a good like? I guess like, should you like prepare for it? I don't think you should prepare for it, but like,
You don't need to
can
prepare for it. There's no like unit test. Just gotta. It's like all like course. It's all like coursework and not in class.
Mhm. So, what would you say is a big tip to like get like an A?
Oh, I did. I don't think I got an A, honestly. So I'm not really sure how I'm supposed to answer that. Uh, I actually don't know. Like getting an A in TOK is so difficult. Uh, I mean, my best answer could be just looking at other people's essays. I guess seeing how people answer things and how people structure things, and also using like key terms and like you've learned during class. Like for example, paradigm shifts. It's spelled like this. Hold on, let's spell it out. Paradigm shift. There, that's a paradigm shift if you want to Google it. Yeah. So uh, just utilizing your knowledge that all the actual course content that's taught in TOK, which is not a lot, and you know, using it because that's what the examiners love. Like they love students using TOK terminology to answer the questions.
Hmm. Got it. Yeah. So now let's move out of IB and let's get deeper into like the more the bigger more philosophical stuff I'll classify as. So talking about your future plans. So obviously you're taking bio and chem and you did interns at like different medical institutions. So probably your plan will be to do something in the medical field. So could you like briefly explain what your overall thought of like doing this is, and like how long do you plan to stay in the medical field, anything else you want to be working on?
For me personally, I of course want to be a doctor one day. Like that's my ultimate goal and dream. Just being able to, you know, fulfill my life's dream to be a doctor, but also being able to keep up my dad's business. Like he has a pretty big business on his back, and he's probably gonna retire once I graduate medical school. And I just want to maintain that business, like just doing like two different sides and
Mhm.
being able to, yeah, that's just my dream, just being able to hold on to two different jobs, like two different areas of work, and succeeding in both of them. But for now, I just want to get into medical school, do my degree, and see where life takes me. Like I don't think there's like I don't think you need to have like a really like definite plan because things change, like AI is getting better and better, and doctors and pharmacists are just losing their jobs slowly because AI is getting so much more advanced. Like, for example, what was it again? GPT 4.0 came out, like that new AI thing, Open AI came out like a few days ago, and it can sing. Like, what? It can sing, it can answer your questions like in a very humanely accent. Like, it's getting better. Like, so I think I don't really have like a really defined future yet. I just want to see where life takes me and like see what jobs are still open and like what's really trending and what's necessary like in a few years time.
Yeah, I guess like it's really important just to keep staying curious and like keep, I guess, following your heart. That's actually
Yeah,
one thing.
following the trend in tech as well.
Mhm.
It depends on what course you're taking, but for me, I just look at, what's new and what's like what does the world need,
Hmm. So with AI, actually, that's actually a pretty interesting topic. I mean, I'm personally a strong believer that AI only. I mean, I wouldn't really take over the world. I feel like
Mm.
AI couldn't really produce creative work. So for example, artists, copywriters,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
musicians,
those are safe. I think they're safe. But for us medical students, that's a bit of a issue because there's so many like surgical robots out there. Like I know Sony announced one like a few months ago, weeks, I don't know. Like it was a while ago. Like Sony announced this like it was like two, three pronged like it's like metal things that could like you know like tie up a stitch or whatever. Like it's so cool. Like and you don't need a human to do it, but you might need one to just monitor it. But there's so much less jobs than before because of AI. So, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that's actually pretty interesting. But like, I mean, it's a really big debate. Like, would you want an AI to help you perform surgery, or would you trust a
Yeah,
human? Or
that's also pretty true. I mean, in 6 years, like things could change, Just gotta be alert and seeing what I could do in 6 years to make a difference.
Mhm. Yeah, but I mean, I guess like many people think that AI would replace jobs, and like school's gonna be really not that effective, or like you shouldn't be studying a lot. But if you think about it, like with this whole like medical AI, like you still, number one, you need to monitor it, as you've mentioned, and in order
Mm.
to monitor it, you need to know your shit, right? Like you need to know your
Yeah.
stuff, because if you don't know like which part is which, because you haven't done like a medical degree or anything, then you couldn't do it. But
Mhm.
like times haven't changed. Like you still need to know your knowledge, but AI is just a tool to make things more
Mhm.
efficient and to
Yeah.
assist the whole medical industry. So yeah, I mean, like in terms of life purpose, I know it's a pretty philosophical topic, but what do you think your overall purpose is? If you've thought about that,
Oof. Yeah, this is a
you
purpose.
could think about it for a while.
I gotta think about it.
Take your time.
Um,
Take your time.
life purpose. I guess like we could go back to this concept of family, and because I'm the oldest of three brothers, my purpose is just to, I guess like the more stereotypical purpose is to be the breadwinner, like provide for the family, and, making money to support my future children. But also, my purpose could be to maybe contribute to the medical field since I'm like locked into science. Like I really should have taken econ. Like I'm really grounded into the scientific field, and I guess my purpose in there is just to, you know, stand out in the scientific community. That's ultimately my goal, and that's like I guess every scientist's purpose just to stand out within their field. But I think it's a pretty viable purpose.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean that's also a pretty interesting topic, because like I think like many of us, especially people who like overthink, like they think a lot about purpose, and like how much of a change do you really want to make in the world. Like I guess like all of us have like the ability to do great things, but it's like determining like whether you actually want to achieve these great things. And there, I mean, that's the beauty of I guess like humans, is that we have the ability to be making these decisions, and making the world a better place. So in terms of like, as like long term, like some different goals that you have, like what would you say you could see yourself in like, I don't know, like the next 10 years?
Ooh, I mean, in 10 years, I'm probably gonna be graduated medical school. I'm probably going to be interning in like a firm because I wouldn't have been that experienced just yet. Maybe I would. I guess another route could be just to do like a biomedical like technology project. I guess like I wouldn't be at like the point where I'm like independently treating other people yet. But in 10 years, I might just be, you know, getting started on my medical path. Like trying to put myself into a job and then, you know, just learning from other professionals.
Hmm. I think we should do like a very interesting exercise right now. So actually, I've been reading like a couple of, I read a lot. So I read this book by Ali Abdaal. I think he's
Mhm.
also a medical student, so I don't know if you heard of him, but productivity expert as well. So one of the things that he mentioned is like defining like your different paths, I guess. So I guess like if you go down this current path, you'll be being like an intern and describing like all of the medical stuff. But what would you say like is an alternative path? Like if you just gone like another route, like I guess could you like if do you want to like briefly just like think about it, see like I guess like how it'll look, if you took like another path.
Oh, so like for example, if I took like an economics degree, seeing where I'd go.
I mean, like, right. I guess, like, right now, right. We want to be more realistic. So, right now, if you decided to, I don't know, take like a 360, or like if you decide to do something else which you're passionate about. So, like, let's just say you decide to invest more time in like business stuff. Like,
Mhm.
what would you see yourself as? I mean, just take some
I would
time.
see myself as the new CEO of my dad's company, like in maybe 10 years, because like the business would be handed down to me anyways, and I think being able to go into business, I'd be like, holding up the business as it is right now, because both of my grandparents and my parents all did finance degrees. I'm the only one in medicine. But if I were to take that business route, I might end up in the same position as them, like investing. What else do they do? Well, I don't know what else they do. Like you know, partnering with other people. You know, and like holding shares of different companies.
Hmm.
Like I just be that generic route. Like I really don't. I really can't predict it. Like because things I've so many things have changed in my life. Like for example, in grade 11, I would not have imagined myself to get like that this high of a predicted grade. So I think like yeah, there's no way to being able to distinctly predict yourself as to where you'll be in the next few years. So, but like for now, I just say that I might be, very grounded into my father's business and just pursuing that.
Hmm. Yeah, and I guess it's like weighing again like the pros and cons and like what you personally like. So I guess like one question that I have for you is if money wasn't an object, like what would you completely do? Like if you didn't have to care, like you have all the money that you have, like what would you do?
Donate it. Like, like it's simple. Like, people who are living in lower economically developed countries, they do not have that value and need of like, for example, clean water, like new clothes, like every single month, um, good food, shelter. Just want to contribute to helping like the people around me if I had the opportunity to, because we're all human after all. Like everyone deserves the same amount of resources as each other, and yeah, I just think of the first thing that comes to mind is just donating. Like it's really like sharing my wealth with other people so they can have wealth as well as me. Like the thing I get in return is just pride and what was that word again? Forget that word. It was like feeling good about yourself. Like you did something good and just happy about it.
Yeah. I also have like a very similar mission, like providing as much
Mhm.
value to people and like, helping people out. Hmm. Yeah, very, 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 very interesting. So I guess like before we kind of like end with this, vo- I had like I guess like two main things that we could talk about. So one is I guess audience questions, so like people that I've questioned like about their IB, and I guess there's currently only like one question left because you answered. Like, I think we talked about most of them. So the question is, have you ever got an unknown question that's not on the syllabus in the IB exams?
Oh, unknown question that's not on the syllabus. I think that's a good question. for the people who take chemistry SL and biology SL. But I don't think I've seen any unknown questions that are not on the syllabus. But I have seen questions that have been written wrong, like on many occasions. Like the teachers mess up the questions, like they made the questions impossible. Like this is very common in chemistry. Like I can think of two occurrences that this has happened. One of them was when they put the equilibrium constant as zero, as one over. Sorry, it was one over something equals zero. And that doesn't work, right? One over some. Sorry, what was it? It was, oh yeah, 1 over 0 is 0, which is not
Yeah,
true because
undefined.
1 over 0 is undefined.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the issues that we found. And another one is drawing, it was also chemistry, it was drawing a structure that was feasibly impossible to draw. And because that compound didn't exist. And they made an issue, like they made an error in the writing. So unknown questions for like for the chem and bio subjects, you don't really see that. But if it's the like questions that are written wrong, you could see those.
Mm-hmm.
And like normally, like what they do when they make those errors is that they just cancel the questions. You can just skip it. Like if you notice that it could have been written wrong, then you just skip it. Or if you notice it during the test and you want to double confirm it, if it's wrong or not, you can ask the teacher.
Mm-hmm. So like
Like
mainly
during
like
the
there
test.
wouldn't be like normally everything will be taught in the syllabus, so there's probably nothing
Yeah,
like level 7, 8
nothing
questions
weird.
from
Yeah, there's
MYP.
nothing weird.
So just all from the syllabus.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that clears up
But
the.
some questions need you to think outside the box. That's all I can say.
So like not directly from the syllabus, but yeah, just
It ties in knowledge from the syllabus.
but it extends it further.
Mm.
Yeah, so like
Yep.
yeah, the common 7, 8 ones. Yeah. So yeah, we've chat for about like I don't know. This is an
An
hour and
hour, 12
11 minutes.
minutes.
hmm So with everything said, what would you say is the one biggest lesson out of I don't know like how old are you? Like 18, right? 17,
I'm
18.
18 in a bit, in a while, in a few
It's been a
months.
while. What would you say is the one biggest lesson, one biggest takeaway for all of the audience here ever in your life?
Mm. So one would be to choose your subjects wisely. Like I really should have chosen economics over ESS because like it really like it doesn't ground me into science. Like if I took econ, like I won't have to, invest my whole time into science. Just choose your subjects wisely. And then if you want to switch subjects, switch it early. And my second piece of advice is to, yeah, what I said in the beginning of the podcast is to don't underestimate the DP. Like it's challenging. And my final piece of advice is to listen to your uni counselors because I didn't, and look what that happened. Look what happened to me. So yeah, just those three things are my biggest advice.
Yup. Yeah. Pretty. Yeah. Personally think that's yeah pretty important. Like just listen to people ahead of you. Like
Yeah,
don't always think that you can personally like do it.
yeah.
Yeah. It's been great chatting with you, Anson. I'm very happy to have you on the podcast here. So, I guess for people who want to
Likewise.
reach out to him, I'll also like link his Instagram so you could like hop on a message or something. Also link his Discord. And after this pod, as I've probably mentioned in the beginning of the video, we're also going to be creating a value doc for you guys just as like a little gift for you guys for watching an hour and 13 minutes of this podcast. So yeah, it's going to be a Notion page which will be linked in the description, and me and Anson will actually be working on this doc together and providing as much action steps and the basically a summary of the different things that we said on the podcast. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy. I found this podcast pretty valuable and enjoyed it. And on to the next one. Peace out. Peace out.